Okay, so 50 Cent just exposed why Snoop Dogg completely vanished the second his Diddy documentary hit Netflix. And guys, what I found is way more disturbing than anyone expected. Multiple sources are now claiming Snoop might actually be worse than Diddy himself. Yeah, you heard that right. Stick around because the evidence I'm about to show you is absolutely wild. Look, I know you clicked on this video because something felt off about Snoop's sudden disappearance, right? Well, you were absolutely correct to trust that instinct. 50 Cent's documentary, Diddy, The Reckoning, is now the #1 show on Netflix in both the United States and the UK. But here's what's crazy, the moment this documentary dropped, Snoop Dogg went completely silent. No Instagram posts, no tweets, nothing. And that's super suspicious for someone who's usually all over social media. Here is what you're going to discover in this video. First, the real reason Snoop disappeared when everyone started talking about Diddy. Second, shocking allegations from people who were actually there claiming Snoop was involved in the same stuff as Diddy. Third, evidence that's been hiding in plain sight for literally decades. And finally, I will show you the evidence of Kim Porter actually catching Snoop Dogg and Diddy in an affair. Make sure you watch until the very end because the final piece of evidence is going to blow your mind. Trust me on this one. All right, before we dive into the deep stuff, you need to understand how close Snoop and Diddy actually were, because this isn't just some casual friendship we're talking about.
In his doc, the Reckoning, Sean Combs' The Reckoning being not only #1 in the US, but now #1 in the UK. And he posted some flowers, and y'all know 50 love being funny.
When 50 Cent's documentary came out, it immediately became the biggest thing on Netflix. People everywhere started talking about Diddy's alleged crimes. The documentary shows victims telling their stories, explains the freak-off parties, and basically exposes everything Diddy allegedly did. It's intense, guys, really intense, but you know what's weird? While everyone else was talking about it, sharing their opinions, and posting their reactions, Snoop Dogg said absolutely nothing. It was complete radio silence, and for someone who comments on literally everything happening in hip-hop, that's strange, very strange. Now check this out.
You know, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock and I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always.
Snoop actually went on television and explained that his sons and Diddy's sons have been best friends since they were 6 years old. He talked about how their families were super close and how Kim Porter, that's Diddy's ex who passed away, would bring the kids together for playdates. He mentioned how when Justin went to UCLA, Snoop's son went to UCLA. When Christian started rapping, Snoop's son started rapping. These families were literally connected at every single level. So here's my question for you. When someone you're that close to gets exposed for serious crimes and your first reaction is to completely disappear from public view, what does that tell you? I mean, wouldn't an innocent person speak up and say something, anything? And guys, I'm not making accusations here, I'm just pointing out patterns that don't make sense. You know what I mean? Now, before we go further, you need to understand what these allegations actually involve. We're talking about claims of freak-off parties where inappropriate things allegedly happened, claims that Snoop was caught in compromising situations with Diddy, and even more disturbing claims that Snoop might have been involved in trafficking situations. Yeah, it gets really dark. So if you're not ready for this, maybe click away now, but if you want the truth, let's keep going. Okay, so let's start with Snoop's weird behavior over the years. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them.
You, nephew, take that top card.
When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it.
Remember when Diddy appeared on television and said, "When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it"? Go back and watch Snoop's face during that moment. He gives this super awkward smile, almost like he knows exactly what Diddy means. People are now rewatching that clip and seeing it completely differently. It's like watching a private joke between two people who share a dark secret. Creepy stuff, honestly, but it gets way worse. Way, way worse.
Happy to have you back, my man.
Man, I ain't went nowhere. I'm closer than you think.
Yeah, man, I had to run it back. I mean, the people rock with you, so, you know, it was only right, man. So I gotta ask you, because over the years, man, there's been a lot of confusion. When Tupac got shot in Vegas, was Snoop at the hospital?
So, Snoop didn't go nowhere near the hospital. So when it happened, as you know, for some strange reason, but now we know the real reason, Snoop did not attend the fight with us or the club, the after party at Club 662. And it was so crazy about that, we thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he didn't attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this. I was at my house in Vegas, and I started calling Snoop, telling him, hey, what's up? You know? Like, it's something wrong with this situation. Pac in the hospital, come holler at him, come check on him. So he drove down, and I was at the house waiting on him. And Tupac's mother was at my house.
Suge Knight is currently in prison serving a life sentence. And because he's in prison, he literally has nothing to lose by telling the truth, right? Well, Suge recently revealed something absolutely shocking about what happened the night Tupac got shot in Las Vegas. According to Suge, Snoop was supposed to go to the Mike Tyson fight with them that night. They had tickets, everything was planned. But at the last minute, Snoop mysteriously didn't show up. He didn't go to the fight. He didn't go to the club afterward, nothing, and this was the first event Snoop had ever missed with them. Super suspicious timing, don't you think? Then Tupac gets shot, he's in the hospital fighting for his life, and guess what? Snoop still doesn't show up. Suge said he was at his house in V. Gasson started calling Snoop over and over saying, "Hey man, what's going on? Pac is in the hospital, come check on him." When Snoop finally drove down to the house, something really strange happened. Tupac's mother was there waiting. She was obviously upset because her son was in the hospital, and when Snoop arrived, he told both of them that Tupac hates me right now and he's mad at me. Then Snoop started crying and literally throwing up, like physically throwing up. Now guys, I don't know about you, but that's not normal behavior. That's guilt. That's someone who knows something bad happened and feels responsible, you know what I'm saying? But here's where it gets even crazier. Warren G., who's Snoop's family, confirmed that Snoop was at his house the night of the shooting and Snoop had a walkie-talkie with him. Now, these weren't regular walkie-talkies. Suge explained that these were special radios that worked across the entire West Coast. The only people who had these radios were security teams during big events. So why did Snoop have a security radio at Warren G's house while watching the fight on TV? And why could he allegedly hear everything happening in Vegas, including the shots being fired? Multiple witnesses say they heard someone on the radio say, "Got him," right after Tupac was shot. I'm just connecting the dots here, guys. You tell me if this sounds innocent.
And death row, y'all don't love us. Y'all don't love us.
All on the record, dancing, come to death row.
But I was like, damn, we on the same record label. I know these people are really thinking like we are like Coast, West Coast. We got beef with the people we got beef with. But we could go anywhere in the country because we are America's most wanted.
And it's not just Suge saying this. Fans have been analyzing old interview footage from the 1990s. They're looking at Snoop's body language whenever he's around Tupac. You can see the tension. You can see how Snoop acts nervous. You can see how he positions himself closer to Diddy's people than to Death Row's people during the East Coast versus West Coast beef. People back then were already saying Snoop betrayed Tupac. They were calling it out in real time. But nobody wanted to believe it because Snoop seemed so cool and laid back. But looking back now, all the signs were there. All right, now we're getting into the really disturbing stuff, so buckle up.
Hold it up a little bit more. Let me see how that. Oh yeah, dang.
You know what I'm saying? We don't hold our man hand. We shake it and get it back in our pocket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got Diddy and Neo, and if you heard Neo's wife call him Little Diddy, that he like freak off, get high and get freak off. They all baby oil you up.
Oh man, what the hell is that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yo. Not him and his son. That's his son, right?
Yeah.
A guy named Courtney Burgess recently came forward. He's a music industry veteran with 35 years of experience, and he claims he has Kim Porter's real memoir, not the fake book that got published and her kids said was false, but the actual real memoir with actual real evidence. And guys, what he says is in this book is absolutely wild. According to Courtney, Kim Porter was documenting everything. She had photos, she had evidence, and she kept it all hidden because she knew how dangerous Diddy was. But before she died mysteriously in 2018, she allegedly gave everything to someone she trusted. Now in this memoir, there are supposedly pictures of Snoop and Diddy together in ways that straight men just don't interact. Courtney specifically mentions one photo where Snoop let Diddy rub on his hand in an inappropriate way. He says, "These aren't quick handshakes. These are prolonged touches, intimate moments caught on camera." The interviewer actually shows some of these redacted photos during the interview, and even though faces are blacked out, you can see body language that's definitely questionable. Courtney says straight up, "We don't hold our man's hand, we shake it and get it back in our pocket." But these photos show something completely different. There are also allegedly pictures of Diddy with other male celebrities like Neo and Andre Harrell in similar compromising positions, all documented, all saved by Kim Porter before she died. Now, I have to be honest with you guys. When I first heard about this, I thought maybe it was just gossip. Maybe people were making stuff up. But then the federal investigation confirmed some of this.
Just recently contacted by someone who wanted me to essentially represent them in the sale of one of the Diddy tapes. So, which I declined that because...
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that again, back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
the shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became a public knowledge.
I've heard this before, so like a catch and kill.
Catch and kill, correct.
Wow, can you, and I guess you can't reveal the person who is on
No,
this
I can't
tape.
explain who the person was, but Mr.
High profile?
Mr. Combs was in the tape, and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile.
A lawyer named Ariel Mitchell appeared on national news. She represents multiple victims in the Diddy case, and she dropped an absolute bombshell on live television. She said someone contacted her trying to sell a freak-off tape featuring Diddy and another celebrity. And get this, she says the other person on the tape is more high-profile than Diddy, more famous than Diddy himself. The lawyer confirmed she's seen stills from the video. She says the other person's face is clearly visible. The video was filmed at Diddy's Atlanta home, and it appears the other person doesn't even know they're being recorded. She specifically said it doesn't seem like they're an active participant in the videotaping, like they're being surreptitiously recorded. She also confirmed the video is pornographic in nature. Now, she legally can't reveal who the other celebrity is, but multiple sources are now claiming that person is Snoop Dogg. Multiple independent sources are all saying the same name. And guys, think about the timing. Kim Porter dies suddenly in 2018 from pneumonia. A healthy 47-year-old woman just dies out of nowhere, and she allegedly had all this evidence about Diddy and Snoop. That's super suspicious. Like really, really suspicio. Now let's talk about what people who were actually there are saying, because these aren't random internet rumors. These are first-hand witnesses.
The demon, bro. Dude is a demon. That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He was possessed with some kind of demon. Wanna be in all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature, a certain type of music for the vibration they were saying. Come on, bro. And I don't care what nobody say, man. And like, when people still talk and keep on talking, if that priest ever come out and he talking, if people keep talking, you'll find out that a lot of shit that Gene Deal has said has been the truth and nothing but the truth. I was there.
Gene Deal was Diddy's personal bodyguard for years. He saw everything. And he recently said Diddy is possessed by some kind of demon. He described these dark parties with specific temperatures and certain types of music playing to create vibrations and actual rituals happening. Gene talked about watching a priest or spiritual person rub stuff on Diddy's head. Then Diddy had to grab a white dove from a cage and throw it in the air. But the dove didn't fly, it just dropped straight to the ground like it had no wings. Gene said he's never seen anything like it in his life. And here's the thing, multiple people are now saying Snoop was present at events like this, that he participated, and that he wasn't just a casual friend who showed up to normal parties. He was allegedly involved in the weird dark stuff too, but it gets even more disturbing.
That Snoop Dogg, not again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of trafficking children. And what did everybody do? Ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime.
A woman named Ally Carter has been speaking out for years. She's a survivor of child trafficking, and she's been calling out both Diddy and Snoop Dogg since way back in 2020. But nobody believed her. People attacked her online, called her crazy, and told her to shut up. But now everything she said is coming true. Ally stated that Snoop Dogg is actually more powerful and influential in these circles than Diddy. She said Snoop was accused of trafficking children back in December 2020, but everyone ignored it. People still celebrated him at the Super Bowl halftime show, still bought his products, and still treated him like a hero. She asked a really good question. We canceled Dr. Seuss and Aunt Jemima, but we're okay with someone accused of trafficking? Does that make sense to you? And guys, she has a point, a really valid point. Why do we pick and choose who gets canceled based on how famous and beloved they are?
You know that Snoop Dogg and Diddy were best friends with Tupac? Diddy is like a black Clinton. Anybody know that? Everybody say don't mess with Diddy. Diddy is like a black Clinton. Because, you know, there's a black, so they say that nobody messes with Diddy. There's a reason for that. You can ask Kanye. He'll tell you. He trying to. He really trying to, but in a minute he's going to get a little sick. Probably not Martin Luther King, that's a whole other story. Martin Lawrence, you know, that running out in the middle of the street acting a damn fool. He's probably going to have one of those reset issues or something like that. And then I'll start it too that, you know, Kanye didn't, but he's trying to. But then, you know, programming breaks and then it clashes and then, you know.
Ally also revealed something interesting about the connection between Snoop, Diddy, and Tupac. She said all three of them were friends at one point, but she heavily implies that Snoop and Diddy were working together while betraying Tupac. She compares Diddy to a Black Clinton and says, nobody messes with Diddy for a reason. She even brings up how Kenai tried to expose this stuff and suddenly started acting strange, almost like he was threatened or programmed to stop talking. It's all super dark and twisted. Now I know some of you might be thinking, okay, but where's the actual proof? And that's fair, that's a fair question, but here's the thing, federal investigators have proof. They seized computers, hard drives, and flash drives from Diddy's properties, and according to multiple sources, Snoop's name keeps coming up in sealed testimony. Let's talk about Snoop's pattern of lying, because once you see it, you realize he's been lying about his involvement for decades. There's a video going around where someone breaks down all of Snoop's lies about Tupac. He tells this elaborate story about running into Nuz in New York during the East Coast-West Coast beef. He says Tupac started getting in Nuz's face even though Nuz was super deep with more people. He makes it sound like this intense confrontation happened. But here's the problem, Nuz did a rebuttal video and Nuz says Snoop wasn't even there. Other Outlaws members who were actually close to Tupac confirmed Snoop wasn't there either. So why is Snoop telling false stories about events he didn't attend? The person in the video asks the perfect question, what made Snoop think he was going to get away with telling a false story when all the people who were actually there could call him out? And guys, I'll tell you why. Because Snoop needs to insert himself into Tupac's story to maintain his street credibility. He needs people to believe he was loyal to Tupac, that they were best friends until the end. Because if the truth comes out that he betrayed Tupac and was actually working with Diddy, his entire career and legacy are destroyed. Think about how many times Snoop has talked about Tupac over the years. How many interviews where he pretends to get emotional? How many times he's used Tupac's name to boost his own reputation? It's all calculated. It's all part of the act.
He thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he did attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this.
Suge Knight talked about something called the boiled egg test that allegedly happens in the music industry. Now, I'm not going to describe the details because they're super inappropriate and disturbing, but basically it's a ritual that young artists allegedly have to pass to prove they're willing to do whatever it takes for success. And according to Suge and multiple other sources, Snoop passed this test. That's why his career exploded. That's why he became one of the biggest names in hip-hop, seemingly overnight. Here is something interesting. Snoop is obsessed with boiled eggs, like weirdly obsessed. He posts about them constantly on social media, makes jokes about them and includes them in his branding. Some people think this is his way of signaling to others in the industry that he's part of the club, that he passed the test. Sounds crazy, right? But when you look at all the evidence together, these weird little details start making sense. Now let's talk about how Snoop has been strategically covering this up for years. Right when the Diddy allegations started heating up, Snoop Dogg was suddenly named the US honorary coach for the Winter Olympics. Convenient timing, don't you think? He got this huge public platform, all this positive press, and everyone talking about how cool and fun he is. It was a perfect distraction from the allegations circling around him. Then he started doing all these commercials, T-Mobile, The Voice, NFL coverage. It's like he was suddenly everywhere doing the most wholesome, family-friendly stuff possible, building up good PR before everything hits the fan. Gene Deal, another former Diddy bodyguard, recently did an interview explaining why he wasn't included in 50 Cent's documentary. And guys, the reason is really interesting. Gene said the documentary director tried to lowball him on payment. But more importantly, Gene said the documentary left out a ton of important information, key details that would have made the story even more damaging. And according to Gene, Snoop's name kept coming up in conversations about who was really involved. Gene specifically talked about the City College incident where 9 people died at a Diddy event in 1991. He said the real story of what happened that night involves more people than what was shown in the documentary, and he implies Snoop knew about certain things but stayed quiet. Gene also confirmed that federal investigators have been collecting evidence for years, that there are sealed testimonies naming specific celebrities, and that more indictments are probably coming. And think about this. If Gene Deal, who is Diddy's bodyguard and has every reason to hate Suge Knight, is still confirming parts of Suge's story about Snoop, that tells you something. When 2 people who can't stand each other both say the same thing about a third person, you should probably listen. Industry insiders use code language to talk about this stuff without saying it directly. They call it sitting in the director's chair or being on the director's lap. These phrases refer to compromising positions that allegedly lead to career success. Multiple witnesses have said that Snoop's career took off after these encounters, that he went from being a regular rapper to suddenly being everywhere, suddenly having major deals, and suddenly being protected by the biggest names in the industry. You don't get that kind of protection for no reason, guys. You don't become untouchable unless you're part of something bigger, and that's what all these sources are saying. Snoop is protected because he's part of the system. He's not just a victim who got taken advantage of and moved on. He allegedly became part of the machine that does this to others. So let's bring this all together. Why did Snoop Dogg really disappear when 50 Cent's documentary dropped? Here is what we know for sure. Federal investigators have video evidence seized from Diddy's properties. A lawyer confirmed tapes exist featuring more high-profile celebrities. Multiple independent sources claim Snoop is on those tapes. Kim Porter allegedly documented his relationship with Diddy before she died mysteriously. Industry insiders who were actually there are finally talking, and Snoop's response to all of this? Complete silence, guys. Innocent people don't act like this. If someone accused you of being involved in trafficking, freak-offs, and compromising situations with Diddy and you were innocent, wouldn't you immediately defend yourself? Wouldn't you sue people for defamation? Wouldn't you make a statement? But Snoop hasn't done any of that. He just disappeared. He went completely dark. And that silence speaks louder than any denial ever could. Think about Snoop's whole personality. He's usually the first person to comment on drama. He's on social media constantly. He gives his opinion on everything happening in hip-hop. But the second his close friend gets exposed for horrific crimes, suddenly he has nothing to say. That's not loyalty, that's self-preservation. And here's the really scary part. Multiple sources say this is just the beginning. More names are about to come out. The federal investigation is building cases against multiple celebrities who were involved. And Snoop's name keeps coming up in sealed testimony that hasn't been made public yet. 50 Cent knows something. That's why he made the documentary. That's why he's been posting cryptic messages about Diddy for years. And that's probably why Snoop disappeared, because he knows 50 has receipts. Look, I know this is a lot to process. Trust me, putting this video together was intense. But we have to talk about these things. We can't keep protecting celebrities just because we like their music or grew up watching them. If these allegations are true, and there's a lot of evidence suggesting they are, then Snoop Dogg has been lying to us for decades, pretending to be loyal to Tupac while allegedly betraying him, pretending to be a fun, harmless celebrity while allegedly being involved in serious crimes, and using his public image to cover up really dark stuff. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Snoop is hiding something? Do you believe he'll be named in future indictments? And if all of this comes out as true, how should we respond as fans who supported him for years? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know what you think about all this. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I know it's heavy content, but these stories need to be told. Victims need to be heard, and we need to stop protecting powerful people just because they're famous. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over. More information is coming out every single day. More witnesses are speaking up, and the federal investigation is still ongoing. This might be the biggest scandal in hip-hop history, and we're watching it unfold in real time. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, guys.